I know I said Shabbat was one of my favorite Jewish words, but I think this one supersedes it because it is actually one of the most important Jewish words in my life. Greetings, Seeker. Today's nice Jewish word is Teshuvah, also pronounced Teshuvah or Tshuva, depending on where you're from and where you learn how to speak Hebrew. For our purposes, I'll say Teshuvah, because I get to do this when I say it, Teshuvah. Teshuvah means return, but more specifically, it represents the entire Jewish concept of repentance or self-improvement. Teshuvah is the means by which a Jewish person makes him or herself right with God or makes him or herself right with other human beings. But let's go way back to the beginning. In other non-Jewish theologies, human beings are considered as inherently flawed, based on some decisions made by Adam and Eve, the very first people in the very first garden. In Christianity, at least, humans are regarded as possessing this thing called original sin. Because Adam and Eve sinned in the garden and got kicked out, all the subsequent generations bear this sin, bear this guilt, and thus need to be redeemed. And that redemption is accomplished by various ways in various religions. Judaism also has this idea of redemption, but from the get-go, humans aren't considered as being inherently flawed in the sense that we are guilty already. Now, human beings are regarded as having two impulses, a positive impulse, or a Yetzer Tov, and a negative impulse, the Yetzer Hara. That means an impulse toward good and an impulse toward evil or selfishness, but not something that's already occurred before the person is even born. They just have that inclination. And these two inclinations battle one another, and we hope that most of the time the Tov guy wins. But sometimes he doesn't. And we do bad things. We do bad things in front of God when we think nobody else is watching. We do bad things to each other all the time. And how do we get rid of that bad stuff? How do we repair those relationships? How do we ourselves resolve to do better? How do we figure out a way to be better? The Jewish technology for this is Teshuvah. It's this custom and tradition of repentance. Now, where this gets talked about the most is during the high holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and the 10 days in between are considered these 10 days of repentance. On Rosh Hashanah, God opens this book and reviews your deeds for the year, and on Yom Kippur, that book is closed with the judgment inscribed therein. And in these 10 days, you can maybe push yourself from one side of the ledger to the other. And so you go out and you apologize to people a lot, and you pray a lot and apologize to God. And the very last day of that on Yom Kippur, you don't eat anything. But what Maimonides pointed out about 1,000 years ago, Yom Kippur only makes up for those sins between a person and God. These are things like not giving as much to charity as you should have, or eating the wrong things like shrimps, or not taking God that seriously in other ways in your life. No witnesses, just God, and on Yom Kippur you fast, and that kind of makes up for that for the year. You hope. But things that we do to and with other people that damage relationships, that cause hardship, that cause pain, we're responsible for that ongoing, whether we fast or not. Fasting and praying doesn't fix that. To make teshuvah with a person, you actually have to go up to them and say, look, I know I did something bad and I'm sorry about that. How do I make it right? And the person could say, no, I don't forgive you. And you have to go back to them, 2-3 more times with witnesses. And you have to try your best to appease them, because only if you appease them is that relationship repaired. Maimonides sets out other steps, whether it's teshuvah for something you did against God or against a person. And the first thing is you have to realize you did something wrong, and you have to admit it to yourself. And then you have to resolve, you know what? I'm not going to do that again. And then you have to structure your life in such a way that you don't accidentally do that again. If you ding somebody's car being reckless, then you should be a safer driver, or you should take a bus, or you should walk. It's not enough to admit what you did was wrong, although that's pretty important. You actually have to resolve not to do it again and to figure out a way to make that resolution come true. Because for the most part, Jewish people aren't looking for redemption in heaven. We don't know what heaven looks like. The prophets say a few nice things, but really what we're concerned about is redeeming ourselves in our lifetime, in this world that we live in right now. And to repair ourselves and to repair the world as it is now, we have to take action right now. And because humans have made mistakes and did bad things to people, I have to say I genuinely believe that people are mistaken more often than they are evil. There are not a lot of truly evil people in the world, but all of us make mistakes, and all of us can make teshuvah for those mistakes. If you'd like to learn more about this, leave a question or something in the comments below. Find some way for us to connect to social media, and I'll talk to you more about this one-on-one. But in the meantime, I'm pretty happy that now you know that Teshuvah is a nice Jewish word.